Pooh Shiesty made a rare mistake not many famous rappers will make. When you become a famous rapper, you have enough money to pay people to do the dirty work for you. Whether it's something street related, or even getting revenge on someone, famous rappers usually put someone on payroll to handle it. But in this case, Pooh Shiesty didn't. Pooh Shiesty set up an armed robbery via Instagram DMs. Now Shiesty knew it was his last day in Miami, Florida. The Memphis rapper set up a meetup with a reseller on Instagram for high-end sneakers and narcotics. Shiesty revealed all of this in his proffer agreement that he created with the judge in his court case. In a rented green McLaren, rapper Pooh Shiesty arrives to the parking lot. Awaiting the two men's arrival, Shiesty and his boy create a plan for an armed robbery against these two men. Once they arrive, they place the goods on the trunk of the seller's vehicle. Shiesty was doing a legit check on the pair of sneakers, and that gave his boy enough time to get in position for everything that was about to go down. While negotiating on the price for the goods, a small argument then started. This began a heated argument, and that's when Pooh Shiesty was seen grabbing a firearm out of his waistband. You then see the two men start sprinting away, trying to duck behind their own vehicle for cover, but they weren't quick enough, as Shiesty ended up hitting both of them, hitting one in the hip and the other one in the backside. Now while Pooh Shiesty was handling the two men, Shiesty's boy was in charge of grabbing the sneakers and narcotics off of the trunk of the car. He then quickly grabs the goods and he starts sprinting to his side of the McLaren. Meanwhile, Pooh Shiesty tries to make sure that his job is done before sprinting to the driver's side of the car. With Pooh Shiesty opening his McLaren door, this model in particular had butterfly doors, meaning the car doors go upwards. And with the car door going up, there was a Louis Vuitton bag sitting in the side door pocket. This bag then fell onto the ground inside of the parking lot. Pooh Shiesty didn't realize it as he was trying to make a very fast getaway. With the bag landing on the pavement, Pooh Shiesty then slammed his door shut and immediately drove right out of the parking lot. Now this Louis Vuitton bag had $40,912 in cash, way more than enough money to buy sneakers and narcotics. Now this bag in particular played a huge role in the evidence against Shiesty, but more on that later. Pooh Shiesty was then seen heading straight towards the closest Miami airport, where he then rented a private jet, left the McLaren in the parking lot, and flew straight out of Miami, Florida, before he was able to be arrested. Now the moment Pooh Shiesty did this armed robbery, he made several mistakes. The first mistake being he just committed an armed robbery beside a police station. So the video footage you see here is actually recorded from police station cameras that was located across the street. Once the sound of firearms in the area were heard, several police cars arrived to the parking lot. With law enforcement knowing exactly the location of this armed robbery, it didn't take long for them to just look through the recording tapes from the video camera across the street. Also, with the police arriving to this scene as fast as they did, they were able to retrieve the Louis Vuitton bag immediately, giving Pooh Shiesty zero time to get his bag back. Now this Louis Vuitton bag that was holding $40,912 in cash was a massive piece of evidence. Now the feds already had a good idea on who committed this armed robbery due to the next piece of evidence I'm about to share, but they went to Pooh Shiesty's Instagram. They downloaded a few pictures, and these photos were of Pooh Shiesty stretching many $100 bills across his body. Now with these photos, the feds zoomed in on one of the pictures to where you can see the serial numbers on the bills. With creative police work, they noticed that one of the photos, the serial number on the bill, ended up matching one of the bills that were inside of the Louis Vuitton bag. But for the piece of evidence that gave law enforcement a very clear indicator on who just committed this armed robbery, it was this. Pooh Shiesty posted a selfie on his Instagram with the all-green McLaren that he just committed an armed robbery in, and he ended up posting this photo the same day. Yes, you heard me right, Pooh Shiesty took a selfie with an all-green sports car that he just committed an armed robbery with in the same day. Easily one of the biggest mistakes ever made by a famous rapper of almost all time that I can think of. Now with Pooh Shiesty being arrested, his original charges for this case was supposed to be 20 years in prison, as when you look at the Florida's 10-20 life rule, it states you'll be put into prison for 10 years if you pull out a firearm and you use it without a license. 20 years in prison if you pull a firearm out and you use it but no one was affected. Then 25 years to life in prison if you pull out a firearm and you use it towards someone who is then affected. Now luckily, Pooh Shiesty was able to set up a proffer with the judge in his court case. As mentioned by Whack 100 and DJ Academics, Pooh Shiesty used what's called a proffer. A proffer is when the criminal proves additional detailed information to the feds relating to the offense for which immunity, or in this case, a lesser sentence is then granted. So Shiesty used this proffer to have his charges of life in prison dropped in exchange for an 8-year sentence. But we're now starting to see rappers call out Shiesty for working with the feds and giving them information on the case and those involved. Now once the proffer deal was announced in court, we saw footage of Pooh Shiesty in the courtroom. We saw Shiesty enter the room wearing what's called a turtle suit. So typically while in jail, if you're having a very hard time saying things about your own life, crying, things in that nature, then law enforcement will give you this turtle suit and they will take everything from you. From your clothing, to your bed sheets, to everything. They take it all. Now it's a very sensitive subject, so let's move on. So sadly, this isn't the only court case that Shiesty is currently facing, and it's actually why he took the proffer deal. As in the second court case, Pooh Shiesty once again used a firearm towards someone. So while at the King of Diamonds club, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty was performing for a large crowd. During his performance, he was seen having once again $40,000 cash sitting in his skinny jeans pocket. So according to the official arrest warrant, rapper Pooh Shiesty was performing. While performing, the people in the front row noticed this cash was starting to almost fall out of his pockets. So when Shiesty got closer to the front row, the people there started swatting at all of this money just sitting in his pockets. Somebody in the front row was able to knock the stack of cash out of his back pocket. Out of nowhere, $40,000 worth of cash just flies in the air. It goes all over the crowd, and everyone in the club starts to go crazy, trying to grab as much money as they could. Everybody was then seen sprinting out of this club. This is when Shiesty went into full panic mode. He was even seen hopping onto the regular floor with everybody else. And with Shiesty trying to grab all of his money, he wasn't fast enough, and it got very, very upsetting for him. So with everybody sprinting out of the club, Shiesty then started running after them. A fan that was recording the concert in the back row near the exit doors was recording the entire thing, and he was even able to record Shiesty pulling a firearm once again out of his skinny jeans waistband before exiting the club. A witness that was standing outside claims that Shiesty got into an argument with a security guard who works at the club, asking him, "Why didn't you just stop all of these people that sprinted out here with all of my money?" and things like that. This is when things got very aggressive, and then Shiesty ended up pulling his firearm out and using it. Once it was all going down, Shiesty then handed his firearm over to one of his boys, who quickly left the scene and was never seen again. Pooh Shiesty was then quickly arrested, but it turns out a massive update has now been released in this case, as the security guard that Shiesty used a firearm against no longer wants to press charges against the rapper. The security guard made a statement online claiming that the medication that the paramedics gave him when they arrived to the scene has actually given him memory loss. So he no longer remembers if Pooh Shiesty was the one who just did this to him. And this makes him no longer want to press charges, as he doesn't want to have someone go to prison for life over an act that he can't remember. Now I'll make sure to update you when more information comes out.